Hi, I'm Keith. I'm one of the coffee techs with Prestige Services, and today we just want to go over the basic fill and maintenance that's driver required when you go out to fill a confection machine. And the first thing that we're going to do when we get up to the machine is we're going to inspect the bean hopper. If we're going to be adding bean, we want to do this immediately. We don't want to open the door. We don't take the top off, because that's when you end up dropping a bean. A bean goes into a mixing bowl and becomes a problem. The bean hopper itself should always be locked. I know a lot of drivers don't do that just to save time, but it really should be locked, because you could have somebody come in and put a foreign object in the bean that could either damage the machine or make somebody sick. And if you're finding that the beans are going to overflow, if you angle the bag and work from back to front, you can fill it as complete as possible. The second thing that you're going to do is open the machine, fill your solubles. You can take the cover off. You can take the individual top of each soluble container off and fill. If you do that, you want to make sure that you keep the bag very close to the top of the container so that the powder doesn't go anywhere. The stuff really blows everywhere and it makes a mess inside the machine. The other way to do it is to actually remove each individual hopper and fill it outside the machine. I prefer to do it that way. It generally keeps the inside of the machine a little bit cleaner. And when you put them back in, those have to go in first, because the hot chocolate has to go in last. Once you've reinserted the canisters, the soluble canisters, you want to make sure that the elbows are aimed properly. You don't want them aimed straight down, because a lot of the powder, because of the rotation, will end up missing the bowl. So you want to cheat them a little bit in the direction of the way the bowl is lined up. Really, then it comes down to a basic clean of the machine. Everybody should have been given a small cleaning kit that includes a bucket, a paintbrush, and one of these brushes as well. All we're really looking for you to do is, if you go into the machine, see the insides of this machine, there's kind of grounds everywhere. The paintbrush works extremely well for this. All you really have to do is clean off the brew group, both the outside and the inside of the brew group, to try to get as much off of it as possible so it doesn't continue to build. You also want to clean the ground chute as much as you can. You can hit the end of the chute and the front of the chute with the brush, and then if you take the brush and just tap the chute, you're going to get a majority of what's inside the chute out. If it's an older machine, it's been here for a long time, if it's dirtier than it should be, you can take this brush and run this brush up inside and get out if there's anything additionally in there. The mixing bowls, again, a majority of the time you can just do this and you can clean a majority of what's hanging out on top of the bowls off of there. The little side thing over here, this, basically anything that you see. The cleaner you can make the machine, the better the machine is going to run. A lot of people always neglect the door. The door is dirty on the inside a lot of times, and it's usually just grounds. I'll sweep this stuff into my hand and then throw it into the paper garbage bucket. Is the easiest thing, because it's right there. You don't have to do anything. The only other thing I would do is at the end is I would take a cloth and maybe wipe these down, wipe down the inside of the door. Anywhere that it's dirty, you don't have to spend a ton of time doing it. It should only take a couple minutes. And the next thing we would look at would be the filter paper. If the roll's in good shape, you really don't have to do anything. If it's low, obviously you're going to have to replace it. You would remove the brew group shield. You would go into the programming. You would hit filter paper install. That allows the brew group to come up. Old filter paper out. You have to lift this manually in order to pull the paper through. Make sure when you put the new paper in, you go around both nails and then underneath the brew group, and make sure you allow enough filter paper that it goes down into the grounds bucket. If you leave it short, it may end up making a mess inside the machine. The other thing that would probably save you guys too is if you picked a project a week, and when you went out to do different machines, if you notice that the mixing bowls were dirty, that week when you go out, maybe clean the mixing bowls on, the worst of your machines. And the following week, you might want to take the hoses off and make sure that underneath this is clean. Also, when you're out doing cleaning, if you notice drips coming down the front or back underneath the bowls, that generally means that the gasket inside is bad. You should let the service tech know so that we can post a service call on Slack to have that taken care of. But once you've cleaned the inside of the machine, you've wiped down the canisters, you've done everything else, make sure you put the grease shield back in. Make sure the hoses are positioned properly so there's no issues there. After that, the next thing is really to go in into the programming of the machine and tell the fill levels of the machine. You hit the white program button on the inside of the door. That brings up this screen. All you're really concerned about is resetting the waste bin and then going into product levels. This screen is going to vary depending upon the version of software that's in the machine. So you're going to slide these to the appropriate levels, close, close, and you always want to hit save, because if you go out without saving, it's not going to save it. And the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your bucket and you're going to do 3 rinses. We found that 3 really seems to be the magic number. By the time you get to the 3rd rinse, it's pretty clean. If you do have a machine that you're at 3 times a week, you probably can do it twice each time, and it's going to be the same thing. The last thing you're going to do is lock the machine, and you're going to empty the garbage bucket as well. When you go to open the garbage bucket, you want to make sure that you tear the paper very carefully. The last thing you want to do is pull on the paper, because if you do, you'll pull it from the inside of the machine. It'll end up making a mess on the inside of the machine. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not a ton of stuff that you guys have to do. It doesn't have to take a ton of time. It's just a little bit of attention when you're in there doing the machine. Okay, once you've done your 3 rinses, there are really only 2 things left to do. Number 1, you want to clean the drip tray. If there's any excess water or coffee in here, take it over to a sink and empty it. Clean it out on the inside. Make sure that the outside is clean as well. Just using a wet rag. You also want to make sure that the cup holder is clean, both on the top and the bottom. You want to take and run your rag around the inside underneath here, because a lot of coffee will splash up underneath that as well. Really, the last thing, and the thing that's probably the most important that people always forget, is to clean the side exhaust fan. A lot of people clean it on the inside. The inside is not really where the issue is. All the stuff collects on the outside. If you use the stiff bristle brush and just run it back and forth, it kind of makes a mess if you haven't done it in a while, but it'll keep that fan running good and keep from making a bigger mess inside the machine. We hope this video was informative and gave you exactly what we're looking for as far as cleanliness goes with the Cafection equipment. If you guys have any questions or anything, reach out to a manager.